This is Shannon Sturdivant, and Matt asked me to talk about my marriage a little bit. So I am married to Bert Sturdivant. We are going to be celebrating 10 years this year, which I can't believe it. And so we were married in 2011. Bert had recently turned 40, and it was just a few weeks before my 37th birthday, and it was the first marriage for both of us. But we had actually met back in 1998. So it was sort of a long and twisty road to get to where we are today. I never dated. I had a couple of dates in high school. I pretty much went to all of the events at school with girlfriends or did not go. And I knew that the answer was going to be Grove City College, that I would find my husband there like most women do at Grove City. And so I went to college thinking that was the plan, that was the time. Perfect engagement on Rainbow Bridge, get married at the college, all tied up nicely. And that did not happen either. So it was very interesting to think that that was going to be my plan and then not ever have that happen. So I here and there met a few different people over the years, went on a few dates, but really never had a boyfriend too serious or someone that I took to a lot of things, and just really enjoyed most of the time being single and doing my own thing. And really, Bert and I had a very long phone friendship. So if you talk about dating my actual husband, I really didn't do that too much either, because we became best friends a lot through just talking. And then when we finally decided this was it and we were going to get married, there were very few dates, and then there was an engagement and we got married. I definitely had a hard time when I started to hit my late 20s and early 30s. There was a year that I had 6 or 7 weddings that one year. I was in the weddings, I was attending them, I was hired to play the piano at them, and there were some times that it was very, very, very hard. I was the last one of almost everyone that I knew to get married, and there were definitely times that I didn't know, if it was ever going to happen, because it just seemed like forever. There were other things about that time period when I was single that were just amazing. I was able to do so much traveling. I could just go to Europe whenever I wanted. I could be gone for 2 or 3 weeks. Nobody cared. I had a lot of independence. I was able to spend great time with my girlfriends. And, there were wonderful times about that time too. I never felt the pressure of my life being on hold because I was single. I felt pressure from myself because I wanted to be married. Being married was very important to me, but I never felt that, my life was not happening. I was always very busy with things at church, things with my friends. I've invested a lot of time into my career and serving the community of Titusville. So that was not really an issue for me, but I always wanted to be married. That was always important to me. Tfree was a really important time in my life. I had always attended church in Titusville, and I really enjoyed the church that I went to, but I wasn't ever meeting people. There wasn't a group of 20-some-year-olds doing something or people that I was making friends with. The people that I knew at church were the same people that I worked with, or the people that I already knew from being in Big Brothers and Sisters. So when I decided to try Tfree, turns out I actually lived across the street from Kurt and Sherry Carbaugh. And so I just sort of coincidentally ended up coming to Tfree, and that really made a big impact in keeping me grounded, because we had so many cell groups, we had so many great activities going on. There still wasn't really a group of 20-somethings or 30-somethings that I could just become friends with. But there were great married couples who adopted me into the cell groups, who invited me to do things with them or with their families. And I really did not feel like I was out on my own anymore. maybe guard your words when you make comments like, I know it's going to happen for you. You're a really great girl. You're a really great guy. God's going to give you someone. You just have to wait on God's timing. Okay, well, God's timing for me was at 37, but it still could not have happened. You know, there are people who are going to be single. So when you hear over and over and over, you know, I can't believe you haven't found a husband yet. I can't believe you haven't found a wife yet. You're such a great person. You're so friendly. You know, the person's going to snap you up when they meet you. It's all God's timing. God's timing might be never, because he has a plan for you to be single, to serve him, to serve your community, to work really hard and give money to other people. It might be before I got married, it might be helping your friends who are married with their kids. There's a lot of things that God might have in his plans for you that never include marriage. So sometimes it's really hard to have married people say, oh, it's going to happen. You know, it's in God's timing. It kind of is right up there with asking newlyweds when they're going to start a family. It's really nobody's business when I'm going to get married or when I'm going to have a baby. Those two things are really personal to people. And when others kind of remind you of them, sometimes it's really hard to take. Specifically to the women in our congregation, if you're in your 20s and 30s, I want to encourage you to use this time to become really strong as a woman, to become in control of your finances, to know what you want out of life, because those things are all great skills that you can use whether you're married or not. One of the things I did right before I met Bert for the second time, because I didn't know I was going to meet him, one of the choices I made was to refinance my house so that I would be debt-free and own my home by the time I turned 50. Because I thought, if I own my house at 50 and I have a chance to take an early retirement, I want to be ready, and I don't want to have to be concerned about my housing situation. So if you're a girl in your 20s and 30s and you're just not sure when Mr. Right is coming, or if he will, this is a great time to know and empower yourself with owning a home, saving money for retirement, paying off any kind of debt that you might have. A lot of those things apply to men as well. There are the same concepts. But in today's society, we still seem to somehow think that it's amazing that women can do certain things on their own. So for men and women who are in your 20s and 30s and you're single and you're looking at your plan, this is a time for you to really grow and develop yourself. You can be giving to your community. Once you hit that point where you're out of debt, you can be giving to your community, you can be helping your church, all of those things. You're not just preparing yourself to meet somebody else and be married, you're preparing yourself to have a life on your own. And that's basically what I was doing. And then suddenly that's when the big twist and the surprise came. And suddenly Bert was back in my life and we were talking about getting married. So it is, you know, one of those things about God's timing. You don't know what you're doing. But I think the important thing is that you don't sit there and you wait forever and you don't actually act on things. Sitting there, and if I had sat there for my 20s and 30s until I was 37, if I had sat there for those roughly 15 years and never done anything, what would I have missed for myself personally? You know, as a woman, as a Christian, as a friend, all of the things that I enjoyed, with my independence and my freedom and not having to be responsible to someone else, that was an amazing time. And I loved that. I loved owning my own house. I loved being single, but I will not hide that there were days and there were sometimes months when it was really, really hard. Miss coming to Tfree, so we hope this pandemic ends soon and we can come see everyone again.